You're watching Fugitive Red Eye, and welcome to another episode of Dream Discs, the series where I talk about DVD sets I would like to see get made. Today we'll also be doing this as a top 10 list, and we're going to specifically talk about 10 series I think that Discotek should license. If you don't know, Discotek is currently my favorite anime distributor in the West. They haven't done anything to piss me off as of yet. Obviously, if that changes, I'll do probably a rant on it. But I like Discotek a whole heck of a lot. They're pretty good. What do I think Discotek should license? Well, a couple of things factor into this. Discotek does tend to license a lot of classic stuff. They do license some newer stuff, so some of this will be newer stuff. They also tend to stick to Go Nagai quite a bit. Most of the Go Nagai stuff that's been released out here in the West, at least anime-wise, has been Discotek. Manga-wise, I'd say it's primarily been 7 Seas. And maybe I'll do a top 10 list about what I think 7 Seas should license at some point, too. But today we're going to talk about the anime side of things and what I think Discotek should license. So, we'll start off with number 10, and at number 10 we have Devilman Crybaby. Now, Devilman Crybaby, as I said, was my favorite anime of the last decade. However, it is not my favorite Devilman adaptation, and I think it is a flawed adaptation. There are several problems with the modernization and pacing and other issues I have with the plot. That said, I still think it's a great Devilman adaptation, and as of right now, it doesn't have a physical release officially in the West. There are bootlegs that I've seen floating around the internet, but goddammit, I want an official release. It's on Netflix, obviously, and that's probably why it hasn't gotten a US Blu-ray or DVD. I would love either one, a Blu-ray or a DVD. Preferably a Blu-ray, because that's what I tend to buy my anime on. But if it's a DVD, I'll take it. That said, it is number 10 on this list because it's a newer series, and it's not exactly top priority in what I think they should be licensing, but I would love to see a Devilman Crybaby set over here in the West. Especially since the Japanese and Italian sets are super fucking expensive online. Number 9, we have Mighty Atom, or Astro Boy. The reason I say Mighty Atom is I would love to see the original Japanese version of Astro Boy released. Several companies have released the US dub of Astro Boy, but I'd love to see it in its original Mighty Atom form, because you never see that over here in the West. So it'd be an interesting look to compare and contrast the differences. I would say I would like them to include both versions on the set, but I don't know how many episodes there are of both versions, and I don't know how much of it is extensively recut, because I haven't looked into it a whole hell of a lot with Astro Boy. Nevertheless, I'd love to see them release at least a good chunk of it if it's a particularly long series, or all of it if it is manageable. Again, not exactly the anime that I'm the most interested in, but as it is considered to be the earliest example of a contemporary anime, I'd like to see a release of it. Number 8, we have the JoJo OVAs. Now, this one's technically a re-release, right? But I would love to see it re-released anyway, because the current sets that are out there are pricey and hard to find. I do currently own a few sets of the JoJo OVAs, but I don't own anywhere near all of them, and I would love to have a simple, single release with all of it on there. And I think it should include both dub and sub, which the DVDs I currently have do, to be fair. But I think that the JoJo OVAs deserve to be seen by a wider audience, and not everyone is as willing to pay $60 for 3 episodes as I am. That said, I really do think that they should re-release the JoJo OVAs, because I think that they deserve to be seen, and I think, capitalizing on how popular JoJo currently is, if it's possible to get the license, I think Discotek should jump on it. Since Viz doesn't seem to be doing anything with that, and as I said in my most recent Red Eye Raw, Viz recently partnered with Funimation, so I would love to see someone else start licensing other parts of JoJo. In addition to the JoJo 90s and 2000s OVAs, I also think that Discotek would benefit from licensing Thus Spoke Kishibe Rohan, which has never had a US release. But I'm not going to count that as a separate entry, because that is still more JoJo OVAs, so we're going to count that here. Anyway, let's move on to number 7. And at number 7, we have Doraemon. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't seen Doraemon. I've seen, the mascot Doraemon posted everywhere in Japan, and I vaguely know what Doraemon is about, this weird little robot cat that has all these different abilities and gadgets. I would love to see if they could get their hands on the original Doraemon. The 1979 version would be great, too. Especially since the original is technically considered lost. I would still like to see it very much, though. Alright, number 6. The original version of Fist of the Blue Sky. Now, Fist of the Blue Sky Regenesis aired on Crunchyroll over here, but the original Fist of the Blue Sky from the 2000s never aired on American television and never got a US physical release. I own Volume 1 in Japanese with no subs, and I would love it if it got an official US release so I could understand it, and actually watch through the series. Especially since I can only find Volume 1 to import anyway. Fist of the Blue Sky, if you're unaware, is a prequel to Fist of the North Star, so I would love to see it happen. On to number 5. So, capping off the top 5, at number 5 we have Greedizer, or UFO Robo Greedizer. That is the third entry in the original Mazinger trilogy, and is a sequel to Great Mazinger. And it has not had a US release at all, and I would love to see it happen. I would love to see the Mazinger trilogy concluded over here in the West. Obviously, there are bootlegs of it out there, as I showed in a recent update. But I would love to see an official release of Greedizer over here in the West, so we could watch it properly and support the creators. So if Discotek could get on that, that would be great, because they've licensed a bunch of other Mazinger stuff, so why not? Alright, at number 4 we have the other Devilman OVAs. What I mean by the other Devilman OVAs is I would love to see it in just like one set containing M and Apocalypse of Devilman, Devilman vs. Mazinger Z, technically a movie, not an OVA, but let's not argue semantics, Cyborg 009 vs. Devilman, and just contain them all in one box set. That'd be really cool, because those have never had US releases either. I think Ammon might have been available on, like, pay-per-view back in the 2000s when it came out, but I don't think it's had a US physical release. I've found images of one floating around the internet, which I think might be fake or bootleg, but if it's not, either way, it's really fucking rare, so I would love to see it released over here. In addition to that, not to take up another entry, but I would like to see the Demon Lord Dante OVA manga VHS put on a DVD, and maybe as a bonus feature on that set. Alright, now we're on to number 3. Doraemon enma-kun, the original 1970s series. Doraemon enma-kun, obviously, I've reviewed different portions of that franchise, being Demon Prince Enma and Doraemon enma-kun Mera Mera, but the original Doraemon enma-kun has never been released in the West. I've seen little snippets of it online here and there, but I've never seen a full episode, and I would love to see a DVD release of Doraemon enma-kun as well, or a Blu-ray, either or. So yeah, I definitely think that's one should be released over here. Alright, number 2, we have Crayon Shinchan. So, Shin-chan has been released over here, at least 3 seasons worth of it have, with the series being dubbed and recut into an Americanized, localized version of it. And I really do like that localized version. But, not only are those sets rare and expensive, but they don't cover anywhere near the entire series. So what I would love to see is if they did a release of it that contained all of the episodes that have already been dubbed into English, and included both the English dubbed versions and the Japanese versions. Now granted, that would probably mean you need to have 2 separate video files, because I think they recut it and changed a bunch of stuff too. So I think that they should do that with that, and include both versions of all those episodes, and in addition to that, cram as many other episodes of the Japanese series onto the set as possible, including the first season, which has never been released in the US. Like, we have season 1, quote-unquote, but there's a lot of earlier episodes that were released in Japan before the character designs were changed, and I would like it if those episodes were also included on a set. I think what they could do is do multiple sets, and include quite a few episodes, do that standard definition on Blu-ray thing they do, where they cram a bunch of them onto one disc. I think they should do that, and release all of Shin-chan eventually, but at the very least, release a good chunk of it over here. Alright, number 1, Kiniku Man. Now, we did get Ultimate Muscle over here in the West, which was a sequel to Kiniku Man, also known as Kiniku Man The Next Generation in Japan. And Ultimate Muscle was heavily censored, dubbed, and Americanized when it came out over here. And those sets are rare, and I don't think the full series has been released on DVD either. And the original Kiniku Man has never been released in the US, so I would love for them to take the original Kiniku Man series and release it over here as well. In addition to that, I would like a re-release of Ultimate Muscle with the original Japanese versions that are uncut, but I think that the original series takes precedent over that since it's never been released here. But yeah, I'd love to see Kiniku Man. And yeah, that's my list. Another thing I neglected to mention is with the JoJo OVAs, I also think that they could include the Lost Phantom Blood movie if they can get their hands on it as well. I think that'd be a great way to market it as well, since that movie is currently considered lost media. Obviously, there's a lot of things I think should get licensed and released over here by Discotek, and if they do it, that'd be great. Anyway, this has been Fugitive Red Eye. Have a good one.
Tired of it.
Vargas, please. Please stop drinking.
No, leave me alone.
Look here, look, listen.
Suck it, you shit!
No, goddammit!
I'm gonna fucking die here, Jack!